Welcome back to the Break the Cycle podcast. Today we are talking about crashing the fuck out.
Skirt.
I've had a crash out this week that led me to finding a new therapist. So it's been a crash out season in my life. We talk all about our crash outs, and we really just sit down and normalize the idea of what a crash out actually means and help each other from crashing out ourselves with some tips and tricks at the end. Listen in, and if you're crashing out, it's the perfect time to lock in. Kyla, you've crashed out today.
I have.
Ugh.
Cried in the car.
For
Happens
better,
to
for
the
worse.
best of us.
Sometimes a crash out is it's a good reset.
I think a crash out is needed bi-weekly.
Can we define crash out?
Yeah, because I was talking to a mental health professional, and I said crash out, and they were like, what does that mean? Something with my brother. He was like, what does that mean?
It's like a breakdown.
Yeah, kind of like a spiral out, spin out. Crashing out could be the act of feeling like you're about to spiral. It could be a full-on spiral mentally. It could be breaking things.
It's like a breaking point.
Yeah, it's a breaking point.
Like psychologically.
Mentally, physically, emotionally. Just like you're at your
wit's end.
Crying, you're sobbing, you're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an immense amount of emotion.
How frequently do you think is a normal amount to crash out?
It depends on the crash out. It depends on what you define a crash out as.
Yeah. You know, this reminds me of one of the episodes we did with like the 7 triggering life events or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
You guys
Life
remember?
transitions.
Yeah, life transitions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What were they again? There was like financial, relational,
Death,
many.
marriage,
Like,
moving.
what do you think is the catalyst to most crash outs?
Depends
Just
on
like
the person.
change in general, right? It's just
Change in general, for sure. Inconsistency.
Inconsistency, instability.
Lack of
Stability.
clarity.
It also could be, I think, the person's triggers. Like, different people will crash out for different things.
Yeah. I think physiologically as well. Someone could be
Yes.
sick. Someone could be drinking too much caffeine.
I think you could have an unregulated nervous system and then get triggered, and then that will cause a crash out.
Yeah.
Or
But-
even depending on the person, like I could have a crash out feeling a certain type of like fabric. I so
Like smelling
Me
a
and-
certain type of perfume or something that like ignites like a past trauma.
No, like, have you ever had like walked and you know those door handles with like the hook on them that like twist and like your pocket gets stuck on the door?
Mm-hmm.
That will send me straight into banging my head against the wall. I will. I'll yell. I'll punt. I'll be like, "You stupid door hand!" Like
I'm just envisioning Kyla getting her pocket caught on a door handle and then just banging your head against the wall right after.
There's a
No, I
big
get
welt on her head.
so
What happened? The doorknob made
mad.
me crash out.
literally so mad.
Yikes.
Or have you ever felt? Oh my gosh, that fabric that drives me nuts. It's kind of like terry cloth.
It's kind of like when someone like scratches a chalkboard.
See, that's not that bad. You know what really gets me kooky in a weird way?
Yeah.
Ripping cotton balls.
Oh yeah.
What?
Ooh. Yeah.
What else?
100%.
There's so many of those little weird things.
People scraping their teeth on their forks.
Oh, yeah. Someone was doing that last night at a team event. And I was like, I have to relocate.
That's
my
why you're
chair.
like, sit here.
Yeah. You thought I was doing you a favor.
I think it's just like
Nice.
chewing,
Sit down.
chewing with your mouth open.
Yeah,
Like when
Danny-
Elijah eats popcorn or like watching a movie with some friends, I get so fucking pissed, dude. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
You know what else like drives me up a freaking wall?
What?
If I am like after a long day of work of talking all day, right? Because I constantly talk all day, right?
Big on yapping.
Big on yapping. It's part of my job. And when it's time for me to like reset and I need like silence, and all I want to do is just lay down and scroll, right? And just listen to input and not have to think about anything. Just listen and watch. And then Marty comes over, lays down next to me, and starts asking me a billion questions about the world, about science. Like, oh my God. I was like, can't you just parallel play with me? He was like, what? I was like, just parallel play with me. He goes, what the hell is that? I go, I'm on my phone. You're on your phone.
Just scroll.
And we lay right next to each other.
Just
And
scroll.
sometimes he doesn't get it because I don't think he
Or use
realizes
ChatGPT.
that too. But I think he tells me I'm the smartest person he's ever met.
Aw.
So he like just likes listening to me talk and like go on and go on and go on, and kind of gets like these doe puppy eyes when like I'm talking or like explaining things. So I think it's just like his like way of like, you know, get to admire like me yapping, and or even like when I'm focusing on something at work, and if he'll like call me and I'm like I'm working, you know what I mean? Like I get like in this zone where it's like boop, boop, you know, whatever. And if someone's like, I'm like, shut the fuck up.
When was your last crash out at work?
Last crash out at work was that actually wasn't that bad of a crash out earlier this week. I think the biggest crash out that I've had was probably a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
When I think you were in Utah. Where were you?
He was here. I was here. I remember jumping in on the tail end of that conversation. I can't remember what it was. Something to do with feedback or something.
It was
feedback, and then like
there was like
cross
leads
wires
that weren't being like responded to, and
yeah,
I was like, dude, you
need help.
Yeah, I'm like, you need help, and you're like, I let you know, and I was like, you let me know yesterday, and you needed help multiple days ago. Like, how can you not let me know? Yeah. Now I'm like pissed because you didn't let me know that you needed help.
Yeah,
and that led to a crash out.
And then it was like just a lack of communication of like you not just telling me straight up, because then you like got on the phone, you're like, oh, it's fine, and I was like, what? This is not what I was just you know what I mean? I was like, wait, hang on, what are you talking about? And then it was just like this buildup of, I felt like all these little fires were igniting. Yeah. I'd rather have like a little fire so I could be like, okay, put all water on the fire. But when 17 fires are lit, I feel like the whole house is gonna start to inflame. Fire. So I get in this fearful stage, right? And it's not ever trying to like attack anybody or hurt anybody. It's like me being like, I'm gonna lose my job. You know, like the whole world's gonna happen.
I think that is a crash out. I feel like a crash out for me is a series of many different like tiny events,
like a domino.
Yeah, death of 1,000 paper cuts. It's
yeah. You
know, just then it's like
that was such a great animation. Like,
yeah, just you get like hit and hit and hit and hit, and then you're just like
splat.
Fuck. And it could be like the smallest thing. Like you're like, I don't know, go to Salt and Straw or an ice cream shop, and I want to just like. Be
okay,
in...
Demi Lovato.
I want to be in like, you know, just my flavor, and the flavor's not there, and you're like, of fucking course it's not. Of course it's not.
Yeah.
Of course it's not.
Yeah.
Or just like little thing. Duh. Yeah, for sure that would happen right now.
Yeah.
And like in any other day, you'd be like, it's really not that deep. Like you're fine. Just like, but in the face and air of a crash out, I think it's an multitude, which each one of those could be. I think now it's like the idea of a crash out is kind of being played like that's gonna crash me out, like the ice cream shop not having my flavor. But really a big crash out is just like in a emotional unstable spot.
And it's interesting when you have a crash out amongst people, like with people about something or over something, right? Because everybody's response or like how they respond to a crash out is different. Someone like Danny likes logistics, right? Like things have to be where I'm like blah, 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 and you're like you know what I mean, like it has to be like there's like a halfway like there has to be like a meshing point at some point of like my yapping goes into an organized detailed box
for sure, or like your crash out, someone else's crash out needs to be met with certain energy. Like if Danny were to crash out, he would need 3 logistical steps with it point A, B, and C per point. Versus you would just be like, Kyla, you're doing great. You're not in a state of fucking freaking out. You're not going to go back to the U-Haul. You're right.
Crazy, right?
Hey, you're good. You know,
I think that's because like for me, a crash out is like having a lack of clarity. It's essentially lacking the belief that things are going to improve because you don't have a plan on what improvement looks like and how to get there. You know, so like that's when I've ever felt crashed out. So when I have like steps that I can take, it's like, okay, clear. I might be like drifting, right? But I'm not like crashing out. I still know that where the racetrack is, if you will.
And mine's almost like a survival mode.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And we all want it to be like that, right? Like I would love for my crash outs to be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna wipe this tear, you know, and then I'm gonna do this, and it'll be all better. But I can't get there like that. I have to like.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like I feel like we're on opposite ends of like the emotional spectrum too. Because when I crash out, I definitely feel like depressed, beaten up, lack of hope, lack of clarity, so on and so forth. But I feel like you'll almost get like, not like manic, energized. But like you'll like
your crash outs that I've seen are like in lack of emotion almost.
Yeah. I'm just like, damn, like I just want to go.
Yeah. Or just minimal energy output.
Where I get like powerlifting.
You get like aroused. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm
about
gonna
to
overcome this.
go to war.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four. You know?
Yeah.
That's
Where I'm just
awesome.
like, I need to just like reclude and like strategize and envision how I can get out of this.
And I wish I could take that energy, or even you, like if I could take that energy and like put it into something, like run across the gym and be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like power lift something.
I think also it is, I wonder how much the first 18 years, like what you were raised in and what leads to like, because it's basically like a crash out is almost an overspilling of feelings or emotions from such experience.
Yeah, it's fascinating because if I think about that, like whenever my dad would like get overwhelmed with emotion or not know how to handle a situation, he would just like lock himself in his room and just sleep the whole day. You know,
That's
and I
feel depresso.
Yeah.
My mom would do the same thing, or she would like be cleaning or like throwing glass vases.
Yeah, my mom would do the opposite. She would go start cleaning and start getting like super like
locking me in
tweaks.
closets.
Do you think that there's like a masculine and feminine trend there, or do you think it's just like some people are manic versus depressed?
And my grandma shuts down.
I feel like my mom and dad go rage cage.
Both parents went rage cage?
No one would ever.
It's interesting. In my family, I noticed a strong trend between like the men being more like reclusive and like depressive opposed to the women that are like more manic and hysteria.
I feel like more guys in my world are not, they're like rage.
Yeah, like anger, violence.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing is that there was never any violence in my household, which I mean, for better or for worse, but I think that like
that's all I knew.
No, but what I'm saying is like the men in your household too, like even though they were like anger and rage, so on and so forth, like they were like assertive too. There's like a benefit in having that energy to dispel opposed to like just like shrinking into a ball, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I've been crashing out more consistently, I think, because of the moves in my life right now.
Major life
events are leading to crash out. And then also I think for a while what I saw as a kid I did not want to like put out there in the world. So like if I had a tense emotion, I would, instead of reacting like my parents would, I would kind of hold it in because I'm like, I don't want to act like them. And then I think more recently I'm like, fuck it, self-harm summer, like just fuck it. It's and not self-harm like I want to slit my wrist or I want to jump off a 4-story building, but like fuck it, fuck it. And I think it's good because I'm releasing the energy, which is leading to a little bit more crash out behavior. But I think it's also allowing me to not sit on my hands and just be like, well, I'm just going to take this. It's like, I think both of y'all have been on sides of that where before I'd be like, it's okay. I'm like, no, what the fuck, dog? What's up?
It's interesting. I've seen the change, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, which is good. I think it gives them more of like it's not like a beat around the bush approach, which is fine, instead of being like uncertain like where we are.
There's an advantage to the receiver too.
100%.
Like, all right, I know where you stand, because before like you could tell by your energy and your body language, but you wouldn't verbally express it, and then 100%. It like kind of left to like a fuck, like you're just like, does he hate me or no, he hates me? You know what I mean? You're just like, I feel so much hate, and now you're like expressing it.
You're so bad at that. I'm so sorry.
Better way.
Like when he shuts down, or like he just holds it in, like you make it a point to make sure people know that you're like giving them the cold shoulder.
I think for a while,
you're ever frustrated.
No, but I genuinely think that like for a while I was like, I don't want to like
explode in emotion.
Yeah. And now I'm like, it's landmine time. You know what I mean? Like,
if I'm crashing out, everyone's crashing out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The whole place
and
is
you're
coming
coming
down.
with me. No, I think that it's good because I think I'm learning how to process the emotion versus like hold it in my body. But I think there's also a way to be able to like crash out internally, process through that, and then still, if you need like anger or rage, like you could utilize that energy, it's fire inside your body, just a bit more strategic.
Right. It's interesting. I think mine can be crying in the car and just like self-pity, and then it can also be like fire and rage and yelling and screaming. I think it's a healthy mix of both. But I too would do the same thing. I would see my mom crash out like that and like throw vases against the wall, and like
Yeah.
I'm locked in the closet. You know what I mean? Because all I hear is just running up and down the hallway. You know what I mean? Not knowing what's going on. And I was like, I never want to be like that.
Yeah.
I'm so scared of that. Like that's so scary. And then I realized, as much as I tried to run away from it,
Yes, that's what happened to me.
every single time I would run away from it, I'd fucking turn around. It's right
in front of your face. Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then
You can't, like, if you had vases thrown at your head, my dad would throw fastballs at my head. I would have to, like, duck. I'm like, that is in my
what?
body.
You know what I mean? Like it just,
It's in my physical body.
yeah, 100%.
And, like, you can't get rid of it. Like,
Yeah.
you could work through it, but, like, the only way through it is into it.
100%.
Not away from it.
I literally struggled so long. I was like, I'll never be like my mom. I'll never be like my mom.
Yeah,
I would tell myself like up and down, I'll never do it. I'll never do it. I'll never do it. But
Me throwing vase.
it's so funny because they would always tell me like when something would happen, and my grandma would make a snark remark and be like, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. You know, like if I was like, I'll never be like her, and she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I think I've come to terms with that. And I'm like, honestly, there's like a lot of good stuff that went into, like, although fucked up, a fastball to the head. My dad was like, I want you to be able to do really hard stuff, and I want you to be able to get better.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with like, not like that, you know, being violent is a good thing, but like there's almost an advantage to like a masculine energy presenting more externally like that, because they like are more assertive and they like keep you on your toes. You know what I mean? Like there's a sharpness to it.
Keeps you safe too, because even just as a woman, like the rage that I get, like when that lady almost hit me the other day, I mean, I was ready to get a baseball bat out, you know what I mean? And like,
Okay.
or even when like that lady that was screaming up and down the hall, like down a couple weeks ago, I was like,
Yeah.
I have a gun, you know what I mean? Like I'm ready to
And
fight.
I got a gun.
Now I'm armed, you know what I mean? Like
Puts
it
on
protects
neurojust.
me. It really, like people.
Yeah.
One time, this is like a couple weeks ago, this Armenian guy almost hit me in Glendale, and I like pull and chase after me. Slams on his brake. I pull over. He slams on the brake. He gets out of the car. I got out of the car. I rolled on my window. He sees it's a woman. He gets back in his car. I swear to God, he got back in his car, and I was like, "That's what I thought." You know, like it kind of like protects me in a little way in those unsafe situations.
Pearl's just in the passenger seat, like,
She's fine. She's got like a little thing and it buckles into the thingy, and she's safe. And she
it's
literally,
like Need for Speed on the 405.
literally, like I rolled down my window and I was like, "What?" You know what I mean? And he got back in his car. It's just like I feel protected with that. I feel protected in those situations because of the situations I've been into and other unpredictable situations where people are out to get me. People were actually trying to harm me. I had that like sense of safety that I could take care of myself, you know?
100%.
Like it kind of felt like it was
You
like
can
an
throw a
armor.
vase if you need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, or a brick.
Love a throw of a brick. Danny, when was your last crash out?
My last crash out. I'm trying to think like what the significant one is, because like how I mentioned, there's like these micro ones that come up like on a weekly or even daily basis, but like legit feeling distraught. I don't know, when we initially moved in here, that was a lot of it was a lot of tension, a lot of change. That was
Really?
difficult. Yeah,
Really difficult.
Even
Yeah.
that first weekend, you guys were getting everything ready.
that was the worst.
It was the worst weekend.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
praying for you guys too.
Yeah,
Because like
I
Elijah was
secretly
mentioning, like he really stepped into like, I'm not gonna filter, which I can appreciate like in some capacity, but this was where he wasn't controlling it at all. And like I
You
said,
guys are
like
sweating
he
bullets
just
moving
never like
stuff.
he would come up to me and he's like, I'm gonna go East Coast on your ass, you know.
Yeah.
And then
like,
like
if you're going to come at me, I'm going to come at you twice as hard.
Yeah,
And
yeah, he
Actually,
just kept
right in
on-
between your eyes.
yeah, he used to just
It's
he
like,
would
don't
just-
fuck around.
He would just keep on saying shit like that, like, and it got really like,
It's like, fuck around, find out.
and I was like, okay,
You
East Coast,
fucked
you
around,
haven't
and
seen
you found out.
Brazilian fucking.
But it also wasn't
Ninja.
like unprovoked. I was kind of like, I was saying some also emotionally hurtful things too. I was like,
Damn.
you want to feel like a fucking man? You feel real big saying these things? It
That was fucking crazy.
toxic.
You guys are going both to sleep in silence.
We were going band for band for sure.
Yeah, bar for bar.
Oh my God. Well, thanks.
No,
It's
it-
not
yeah,
the
you know,
work
it was
worked
hor-
out for
Yeah, we
Like, I
ended
was
up-
getting my bed moved in, and he's like, I'm not gonna let you, like, he went open the door, he was on a meeting, and I literally was like, start moving all of the stuff in front of the door, because I knew he had a meeting right there. He's like, I'm not opening the door. Like, it was just full crash out
That's
season.
so funny. I would have paid to be a fly on the wall.
Oh my God, you would have. You really would have.
I would have
It was
loved
top
it.
tier
It
entertainment.
sucked. My keys were stolen one day.
Keys were stolen.
No way.
Stole the keys.
My keys were gone.
Stole
I was
the
about
keys.
to leave the house. I was like, okay, I need to lock the door.
And I said,
Elijah's
good
in their
luck finding a
No,
door.
he didn't even take all the keys. He just took the key to the house. And I was
Yeah.
like, bro,
It's
at least take
psychological
all
warfare.
the keys. So I know that it wasn't, like, I don't know for sure it was you.
No,
but
I
if you're
want you to think about it.
gonna-
That is hysterical. Like, we all come in Monday morning. You guys are all like, welcome.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened this week in the training, dude.
Oh my god, yeah, another crash out.
Another crash
Another
out.
crash out on Monday. Huge crash out on Monday.
Yeah.
Really?
I was late to pick up the workbooks. And
I
then
said, Danny, please pick up the workbooks on Sunday. No picking up the workbooks.
It's like when you don't get gas the night before
Yeah.
and you're on your way to work.
and Elijah just took a fat shit on my chest right before these people show up and I'm supposed to train them.
Yeah, I was so pissed. I was like, dude, get the workbooks here, be on time, do your Monday morning meeting docs.
If there's one thing about Elijah, timeliness is
My
key.
anxiety. I would say 80% of crash outs are expectation violations and or time.
And I have learned in my cards of cards now, do not mess with Elijah's time.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a respect thing, to be honest with you. That's really how I see it.
Yeah.
I see it as like
100%.
people not respecting time.
Please note today was just Pearl. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Disrespect.
Disrespected.
Yeah, I feel like
Blame it
I've been
on her.
on a state of crash outs for sure. I think for
Taking keys.
taking keys.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
seriously.
mean, Danny said some fucked up shit that I won't repeat.
Of course. You don't have to.
That
The key is, I understand.
that led to
a stolen key, so
yeah.
it must have. This is when he was like, "I'll hit you twice as hard." And I was like, "You're twice as hard." Feels like a little pinch, and then we just went to war.
hmm
Danny, that is.
And I
you
said,
should not do that
so
to
you
a
want to run
ginger.
games?
So you're like,
I
"You wanna-"
love games. I actually make games, and you're gonna play with them. No, and then I was thinking about like taking the keys and locking the door so you couldn't get in. But then I was like, no, I can't do that. That's really
taking the
fucked up.
keys and locking the door.
Yeah.
But I was still at the
Damn.
house. I wasn't gonna leave without my key.
No, you left without your key.
I didn't. I took a picture of it and I sent it to you. And I said, "Yo, I'm about to leave the house. I can't lock the door."
Yeah, but then you left, and I'm thinking you did. You went out that night, and then I was thinking, if I just keep everything locked, you're gonna have to sleep with the homeless people at 7-Eleven. But then the crash out, I said, we're not gonna continue to spiral. But yeah, I think there's just like a lot of energy.
It's a move.
dispensed.
It's a
move. Dynamics changing. Expectations.
Yeah.
How do you show up at work in this type of setting?
Yeah. You guys
Little
are at
things,
home, you know.
Home, prepping for the week. I'm like, am I doing more prep? Is Danny doing more prep?
Yeah.
All these things are like now a Chinese calculator, which
Yeah.
is more energy dispensed, which is leading to more crash outs.
Which it's a fine line to walk, you know. You have like in your home, you know, your safe space
Mm-hmm.
with also your work environment
Mm-hmm.
where you're professional. So it's like a very like
Yeah,
where do you take off your at home hat
totally.
and where do you put on your like CEO hat and where do you hang it up? When
Yeah.
is it appropriate to hang it up?
Even going out with like employees and like shit coming up that I would have never expected come up.
I'm sure.
And I'm like, how do I show up like this?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
get it.
There's no rule book, you know?
Yeah.
And then just those, it's like a death of 1,000 paper cuts. And that's like in itself, like, it's not a paper cut, but it's like just like another thing where it's like,
Yeah.
was that wrong? Was that right? Should I? And then it's boop, 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 and it's like,
Yeah, I get it.
whiplash.
Yeah, I think Elijah thinks about that more than I do, for better or for worse. As it
Which-
pertains to like, I just like show up authentically and I try to be professional, but also myself, and then I kind of like don't compute.
But then
beyond that.
sometimes that feels like inauthentic.
Mm.
Sometimes.
What do you mean?
Like it feels like a polished, like bright-eyed bush and bunny tail. Like Danny has no faults, you know.
Interesting.
Where it's like you have like it. I'm not saying like it's not like bad, Danny. Right? Like you're leading company, so are you. Both of you are. But to have like some of it makes you human. You get what I'm saying? Like to
Yeah.
have that like breakdown of some grittiness and just to be kind of like, well, this is fuck. You know, like having just like a moment and like
I'm doing that every other day.
you know, right? And it's to have like this, but it's also like a yin and yang thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Where I never would have expected this, and I will always never forget this. This is like put you in like it's moved you from like I don't know about him, but in part of my book to like, okay, I'm safe with him. Is that crash out we had with that one client
You're racist.
when that happened, and
That was a crazy
And
time.
we were just like, all like just locked on the screen. And you called me. You picked up the phone and called me. Or did I call you?
Okay, I think I called you.
I think he called me. I was just hysterically crying. He just let me cry. He let me cry. Well, you're in the background. We're going to fix it. We're going to you know what I mean? You're going to hunker down. You're going to figure it out. We're going to
bunker down.
And I was like, I just needed that space to just kind of like express my emotions. And you weren't there yet. Like you just weren't ready. You're like, we got to figure it out. Like
I was action oriented.
Yeah.
I also called you and it was the opposite.
And Danny was just like, it's okay. Like it's going to happen. Like he literally just, and that's when I was like, I had a completely different perception of you. Like, and I was just like, oh, this guy isn't just some cocky, ripped asshole, you know?
Interesting.
And
that's interesting that you saw me in that way, though, initially, because you did mention that a couple times. And do you think that I present like inauthentic in terms of like I have no flaws?
Yeah.
Really?
100%.
Like when shit hits the fan, you think I'm pretty good at just like seeming like everything's okay? Like
I think I'm more like, yo, what's like, this is what's up, guys. We need to rally together and we're going through this together. And the highs and highs or the lows are the lows.
I feel like you would rather, if there's an elephant in the room, Danny, sometimes you'd rather just like feed the elephant and like just kind of like be like walk past it and like just allow it to like grow in the space sometimes because you've got what you've got going on. Then also I think there was some some issues between us because you were fearful of me as well. So I think we both had this fear between each other of how we both perceived each other originally.
Interesting.
You get what I'm saying? You know, is she gonna rob us or is she gonna rob for us?
No, I mean I told you directly that I thought there was some risk with like a liability in terms of like, you know, certain things.
We can't talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about on the podcast your past, so on and so forth. And I'm like, you can't share the story that you shared on this podcast and you shared it again last night in front of the whole team, like at a normal company in the way that you did. Right?
That's what I exactly said last night. I said I never would have ever. Like I've never walked into a company that I never would have.
I got that story at E too.
Yeah, you know, like let me tell you about my U-Haul story.
Yeah,
like, I would have never. Like that's a boundary for me.
Yeah.
Was that should I have not done that?
I was like.
I didn't know you were gonna go into the whole story like that. I thought you were just gonna be like,
what was it? I lived in a U-Haul. Like, we're gonna be how? She's lying. What are you talking about?
Sorry if I put you on the spot like that. I didn't mean that. I really didn't mean that. If that came off like that,
I mean, I was just kind of like thinking all. I mean, thank God I'm here where I'm at now. You know,
she's
what I mean?
Like crying in the fucking kitchen.
I totally just
tell the story of your deepest, darkest time in your life.
Tell the U-Haul story, and I'm like,
well, just like it was like really. Like,
Elijah does that to me a lot too. He's like, when
okay.
Danny and I first met, he was like so depressed. He just talks about how depressed I was, and I'm like, bro, you bring this up like at least once a week, how depressed I was.
But wheel it back before we get into this. Danny, seriously, like that really like opened up a different part of you that I had saw. Even our one-on-ones that we've had, like really, if there was someone, like let's say I was really going through something, or something happened, like I know you'd have like your listening ears on and be like, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have this softness to you. I don't know if it's the eyes. I don't know what it is, but you have this softness to you that I never had saw before. But again, it's that false perception that we have of people that I'm always off. I'm always wrong about people all the time. So that's my bad because of how I navigated life. But with just what happened last night, we can never, right? You would never do that at a work environment.
Yeah. So I think when we initially met, it was like just my initial, like I was just trying to kind of do what Elijah does, where
like
it's
an
like,
addict, you know?
am I supposed to? Yeah, I'm like, am I supposed to think about this like as a boss? You know, like is this a volatile person, so on and so forth. But I think that there's been a lot of trust that's been compounded like over the past year since we've been on the team. You know, where like crash outs will happen, and that's where I'm like, look, crash outs are inevitable in any business, in any relationship. Like I just got into a relationship, and like that was like one of the standards that I set as the foundation. I was like, look, I'm gonna crash out at some point. You are too. Like I don't really want to be in a relationship with someone who's not willing to like be there during that, like the hard times. You know what I mean? Like it's a big step to take that, and same thing goes for the business as well. And the people that we work with, we have to like, can they stay consistent or at least composed during a crash out, you know? And that was like a big question mark for me and you, Kyla. And I think that you've proven yourself time and time again that even if you do lose your composure, you bring it back. Same thing with Elijah too. Like whenever he crashes out on me or goes East Coast or whatever, like
and I think
he does bring it back. You know, that's the big thing.
I think it's also different, like who I crash out in front of. Like I feel like I have some, because of the U-Haul story, like some like, I guess, you know, money deposited in that bank that I can like take out and withdraw to crash out with, but I would never do that like in front of Allie, right? You know, like I would never be like, you know what I mean? I would never do that in front of, you know what I mean? Like I would never, like I just sat there and was like, you know, like I just kept it.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's like money that I can withdraw from the bank of our like
openness
that I can withdraw and take and be like, okay, I'm gonna put my money back in the bank.
Okay, what's one thing that you do during a crash out that brings you back down?
That's a good question.
Listening to like loud punk angry music.
Fiddler.
Yeah.
Yoga for me, like hot
Any
yoga.
punk music.
Yeah, music is huge.
Like raging, like cocaine. Like just like screaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like
Not cocaine,
mine
though.
is like sitting down with a friend and just like
Not do cocaine, but yeah.
debriefing.
Debriefing.
Just like, or walking and chatting
yeah.
and just being like, out
A good
fresh
walk.
air.
I've noticed a good walk will clear a lot of things.
Yeah.
Just for me, and I again, this is so funny. But remember when I was on like I've been on my weight loss journey, and I was like, Danny, I'm making all these like steps in my day, and I go, you know how many steps I was originally walking before the surgery? And he goes, how many did you say? 3,000? I go, 30. And now I'm like getting up in like the thousands, you know, because I'm walking a girl. Yeah, I'm like on this like journey, and it's like I was really set it. You know what I mean? Like I was not moving. Like I think the only time I was moving was when I came to see you guys, and like that's so unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that like getting out and like obviously the focus is never on me because I'm like out in the world, right? And I see cars and people are like around their lives, and then I'm like, oh, you know, like this isn't that bad. This guy can have his arm blown off. Maybe he's an amputee. You know, like all these different things like start coming in my head, and like I start to think like
perspective.
It's not just it's a bad moment, not a bad day.
I think gratitude also, it's like corny as it is, literally just like 3 moments.
Gratitude has saved my ass.
Sickening.
In my sobriety.
Yeah.
In my day to day. And I never used to understand the full depth and weight of gratitude and what it can do, because gratitude is an action word and I had no idea what that meant. I didn't understand what that meant, but gratitude is like the cornerstone in anything for any crash out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think that it's right now in the modern media, whatnot, it's kind of, what's the word? Like synthesized, if you will, synthesized gratitude. Like you always have the dudes with the wooden beads who are just, you know, talking about spirituality and gratitude and like all these like buzzwords, but like really deep gratitude and appreciating like the first thought you have in the morning and the second thought you have at night, or the last thought you'll have at
Mindfulness.
night. Just like being appreciative for the day and like how blessed we are just to even wake up. That is a beautiful like place to be, and 100%. It helps avoid a lot of crash out, I think. Yeah.
So if you're crashing out, go for a walk, go do yoga,
take a nap,
listen to punk music. If you need more support than just some yoga and some punk music, you can just check us out at cyclehealth.com, top right corner. Submit an assessment, submit your insurance information, and we will help you from crashing out with new innovative treatments such as ketamine therapy, TMS, Bravado therapy,
med management.
New innovative treatments coming soon, and we're here to help you not crash out. And if you do and you want to partake in self-harm summer, not the cutting type but the spin out type, lock back in because it's all going to get better soon.
There's another one coming.